Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you loud and clear. Okay. This is Omar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. It's the morning after. I'm joined by Gareth A. Davies. Well, let's start with the ending last night, Gareth. Mark Tibbs made the right call, didn't he? Made the right decision.
Well, he must have done because for all the posturing that people put out today and all the hate that's flying around and Billy Joe's comments that he made about Daniel Dubois and this, that, and the other, there was clear darkness there and it was indented. You could see it. And when he was hit by that huge right uppercut as he was ducking down, the rest of the round, he literally was circling the ring with his guard up and on the ropes and just trying to defend himself to get to the end of the round. That was the kind of going out on his shield, wasn't it? He obviously couldn't see out of the eye. And it's a pain threshold thing as well, isn't it? I mean, we'll find out more as things transpire, but obviously he went straight to the hospital with the ambulance. There's no way he would have wanted to stop that fight because it was compelling. So, the corner is there, the trainer is there to make that call. There was no objection at all from Billy Joe Saunders. He was done. So it was the right call. It has to be the right call.
I think, firstly, credit has to go to Canelo because I've seen a lot of people say, Billy was either up or level. I had it level. I thought he was boxing really well from the fifth onwards. But Canelo actually had to land that shot to inflict that damage for the corner to stop it. So I think the credit has to go to Canelo, firstly, for that, landing that unbelievable shot.
Completely agree with you. It's another brilliant performance by Canelo. It was a compelling fight. You could have had 5-3 for Saunders, 5-3 for Canelo, or 4-4, and that's what most people had. I had it 5-3 for Saunders. I just thought he, like you say, rounds 3 to 6, 7, he looked great. When he started to let his hands down and move, and he had a lot of success. I mean, I think the way the fight played out was how we actually expected the two styles to marry. Billy Joe Saunders was smart and slick, and until the 8th round, wasn't heavily caught. He was able to take Canelo's punches pretty well, but he didn't have the power to really back Canelo up. And so Canelo was always advancing, wasn't he? He was always stalking his foe. And as we know, he is now not just a wild threshing machine. And he missed with a lot of wild punches. So did Billy towards the end when he got desperate as well. But Canelo missed, Saunders made Canelo miss a lot. It was compelling fare for me. But Canelo's got that extra level of savvy in him now that he's waiting and waiting and waiting. And he did a lot of countering last night as well, and he worked out towards the end that Billy, from about rounds 4, 5 onwards, was ducking down very low. And he could see that uppercut there for him because he clearly had targeted the body with the left hand early on, hadn't he? That was his punch. 3 of those in the first round that landed. It was an absorbing, fascinating contest for me where we did see the skills of the two fighters. But like you say, the credit has got to go with Canelo. Saunders is an awkward opponent. He looked awkward in there for Canelo. He is a big man. He did take his punches until either his cheek or his orbital socket was broken in that 8th round. And you don't wish that on any man in a ring, frankly, on any man whatsoever. It could be career ending. It could be, his eye he might not be seeing out of his eye. There's all sorts of things that can go on. And, I know that Billy's a polarizing character. And there's a lot of polarization out there today, isn't there? Billy doesn't mince his words. Now people are kind of, taking it out on him for the things that he said about Dubois or what he said about Canelo. But, Canelo, this was a chance for Billy Joe Saunders to show that he's not just very, very good, but that he's great. Canelo is great. There's no question about it, He just did everything he needed to do, and he waited for his opportunity. And he hunted Billy Joe down, and in the end, he was the predator. The predator won. The predator won the fight, not the sneaky, tricky kind of rebel southpaw, if you like. So yeah, massive credit to Canelo. Massive credit.
Having said all that, if Canelo hadn't landed that amazing shot and it carried on, we discussed there rounds kind of definitely 5, 6, and 7. Billy definitely banked. I mean, that was clear for everyone. A couple of the judges didn't give him either the 5th, 6th, or 7th. It was varied. So what was the point in carrying on anyways? He wouldn't have got a decision.
well, there's always a point in carrying on. I mean, you know, but the look, 73,000 crowds were just cheering and punching. I mean, they were delighted when Canelo hit air. They were cheering for him, you know. So there was look. He's a very aggressive counter puncher now, and he's a very aggressive front foot fighter when he wants to be as well. He's got it all. He's got it all. Every fight he's in now, he's going to be a predator. You know, people were joking about him going up to heavyweight. I think they were, to have a fight at heavyweight against the right opponent. Maybe you could have seen it, but I don't. He's too small, I believe. But he could dominate at 175 as well. You know, Bivol's, Beterbiev's, they would be amazing contests to watch, because this kid is at the peak of his powers right now. And, you know, Caleb Plant's got a great style as well. I think that will be a good fight. But once he's unified those belts, where does he go? He said in the week, I want to go 7 more years. Yeah. So, you know, he's got those massive challenges ahead of him, and he will take on the challenges. As for if the fight had gone 12 rounds, I think, you know, looking at the scorecards, if it had gone the way it was and Saunders had maintained that tempo and hadn't been hurt and it had been back and forth as it was, I think the judges probably would have ended up scoring at kind of 116, 112, around about that mark. And we'd have all been having a massive debate today about, you know, was it a draw? Did Billy nick it by 1? Was it a robbery in America? But that's, in a sense, Umar, that's by the by. I mean, but like you say, up until those moments in the 8th round when Canelo cracked him with that uppercut, like, I mean, you know, the replays of that punch to the eye or the cheek, oh man, it's like you can see his glove sinking in. So it's kind of immaterial in a way. But if it had gone the 12 rounds, we all suspected it might be, you know, a very tricky fight to score, or that there would be a feeling that Canelo's power shots would be scored more. I mean, he was loading up. He loads up when he throws now.
He wasn't landing much in their middle rounds at all, really.
No, he wasn't landing much. I mean, I didn't even agree with CompuBox stats. I thought they looked off to me. They looked off. But look, it doesn't matter now. He stopped him. He damaged Saunders' face. He wasn't in a position to continue. I'm glad he didn't continue. I felt the same when Dubois was hurt against Joe Joyce. Live to fight another day. You know, let people call you a quitter. Live to fight another day. You know, you don't have to die in that ring. You shouldn't die in that ring. You shouldn't lose your eyesight in that ring, because if your body and your brain is telling you that the pain is too much, or it's instincts, isn't it? You know, I think Billy Joe Saunders was enjoying the fight. I think there were, when he dropped his hands and he was showboating a little bit, his tongue was coming out. You know, he showed a lot of like desire in there to do it. He showed desire all week. He didn't look cowed at any moment, but he got broken. He got broken by Canelo, who's a very, very dangerous, relentless, resilient guy as well. And let's be honest, you know, the only guy to really put a dent in Canelo is Golovkin in that first fight they had. And he's a freakish puncher. And that's when Canelo went on his bike for 2 or 3 rounds. Do you remember? Yeah. Circling the ring, working out a way to get back into the fight. So, yeah, I mean, it would have been, if Canelo had fought at the same pace and Saunders had managed to keep doing what he was doing, growing confidence, I still think Canelo would have got the decision. And I think we'd have been debating it. And, you know, there would have been the pursuance of a rematch then, wouldn't there?
Mm. But for all those having a go at Billy, calling him a quitter or whatnot, imagine if Mark hadn't pulled him out, let him go, and then he's lost his eyesight. you know, his career's gone potentially. It might still, we still need to find out what's going on with Billy, but potentially, imagine if he lost his eyesight, then what?
Well,
You know what I mean?
well,
Mark's
his
definitely
career
going to
could be
cut off.
the thing. Yeah, but the thing is, Umar, his career could be over anyway. He's
Mm,
just fought in front of 73,000 people against the number one pound for pound in the world. He's had an enormous payday, that he'll never have to work again. Not that he said before, it's not about the money. And he's quite, blatant about that, but or adamant about that rather. But the thing is, it's where he goes from here now. He may not want to box again. It may be the end of his career. Um, you know, he may want to fight Canelo again. You never know. You just never know. But um, this was a night when Canelo proved that he is truly great against another tricky opponent who, there were always there were question marks about the first, very big question marks about the first Golovkin fight. There were question marks about the Erislandy Lara fight that could have gone against him on a different night as well. So, it's Canelo's night. It belongs to Canelo, and Billy Joe Saunders is going to have to regroup. And when he does come out, he'll just say it is what it is. I got beaten by the better man on the night, and he will. He will.
Yeah.
So, but it was compelling all the way up to the end. I think had he come out in the 9th round, to answer your question properly, he'd already kind of slid into utter defense in that, because you wondered in that 8th round, he's covering up, but is he going to fire back? It occurred to your mind watching it. Is he going to cover up here and throw 3 or 4 counters to get Canelo off? But he didn't have it in him. In that moment, he was dealing with whatever pain or eyesight issue was going on in his head. I think on the broadcast, Carl Froch said at the time on the DAZN broadcast, I've had the retina scratched before or pain in the eye, and you're in there thinking, what's going on? What's going on here? I just got to get through this round. And that's clearly where he was. Canelo, I think, would have busted him up in the 9th. So they made the right decision to not send him out.
mm. And as I said, we don't know what's going on with Billy Joe in terms of how bad this injury is going to be, whether it ends its career. And the main thing for him is just to get okay. Hopefully he's out of hospital now. We're speaking at about, 1 o'clock? What is it?
Midday
UK time, Sunday.
It's hopefully 6 hours it's 6 hours since he was taken to hospital.
Yeah, hopefully, the main thing is that he gets okay. But just if he does come back in a ring, which we hope he does one day, just name me a few guys, Gareth, that you'd like to see Billy with.
Well, I'd like to see him fight Chris Eubank Jr., obviously. Who gave a bit of an outburst afterwards, which I thought was a bit tasteless. He won his bet. He bet with William Hill, didn't he? £10,000 on Saunders being stopped. There's clear enmity there between those two. That's a fight I'd love to see. Again, it's a similar kind of, you can't say Eubank's at the level of Canelo at the moment, but or will he ever be? But I think he'll be a world champion. But that's a fight I would love to see. Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders, I'd like to see. It just depends where his ambition is. I definitely want to see those 2 fights. I'm trying to think of others right now. Can you throw any others at me? But those are 2 obvious ones. Callum Smith and but for what?
Demetrius.
Oh no, the Golovkin fight. Sorry, yeah, and the Golovkin fight. Yeah. But again, it's a similar kind of opponent who actually jabs more, because Canelo didn't jab much last night. He loaded up with the right hand and he looked to land left hooks around the side into Billy Joe Saunders' body, didn't he? He didn't throw a lot of jabs. He fenced a little bit, but a lot of it was coming in and then looking to load and looking to counter. So I think those 3 opponents, Golovkin, Callum Smith, Chris Eubank Jr., they're the people we wanted him to see anyway. But getting up for it again is going to be a big thing for him. So, dependent on the injury, I'm sure the injury will be healable, but he may have to have surgery, all that kind of stuff. So, and this was his big moment. He declared that. I did deep interviews with him where I told you before, where he declared this was a moment he'd waited for 20 years. This was part of the crowning glory, did inactivity cost him a little bit? Maybe, you know, maybe for 3-4 minutes in the fight, but once he got into it, I don't think it made much difference. Yeah, but let's see how he is when he comes out of hospital and see what he says afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Gareth, appreciate your thoughts this morning, afternoon. Is there anything you'd like to add on last night before we close?
No, I just thought it was an amazing spectacle, and you know, it was great to have a huge event back with 73,000 people there, breaking an indoor record in America. I've been to that stadium. I covered Manny Pacquiao against Joshua Clottey there. It's enormous. The screens in the arena, by the way, over the ring, are something like 60 meters long.
Wow.
No, because it's like a city. It's like a giant spaceship has landed, a city spaceship. It's an enormous place, the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. In fact, one side of it, there's twin towers modeled on Wembley, with Wembley Twin Towers by Jerry Jones, the owner. No, it's an enormous venue. To get 70,000 people in there, I mean, it's not even full, is it, with 70,000 people in? So, no, it was a great spectacle. I thought Saunders gave a very good account of himself in what was till the end of that 8th round, a very compelling contest. I mean, he was battered around in that last minute, but I thought the fight lived up to its billing. It was very good. I'd love to have seen 12 rounds of it, frankly, you know, because it was as I say, it was a compelling, intriguing fight between two guys who just went about it in the styles they have. Unfortunately for Billy Joe Saunders and his fans, Canelo's not beatable at the moment, and that's the way it is. And I don't see anyone beating him. You know, I see him beating Caleb Plant, unifying the division, and then going up to maybe having the Golovkin trilogy at middle, and then going up and fighting the light heavyweights, and that'll be him. And I think he'll retire in 3 years' time, 4 years' time. He can't have 4 fights a year for 7 years. I just don't see it. I don't see the people coming up yet, you know. But you know, maybe he's going to do a Mayweather and meet all the young guys coming up and, you know, beat them before they get great. But no, it was an event worth its salt, no question about it. Or certainly the main fight was anyway.
Okay, Gareth, as I said, always good to get your comments, and yeah, appreciate your time on IFL TV as always, mate.
Pleasure as always, Umar. Anytime.
Top man.